And if you ever go to Waycroft is an awesome neighborhood. Right down the street is the park. I mean, it's really walkable. It's a beautiful neighborhood. But the thing is, people bought in this neighborhood for a reason. And people continue to buy in the neighborhoods for reasons because it's aesthetically pleasing. I know people are going to say, well, you can build aesthetically pleasing sixplexes. Well, you can, but you can't build aesthetically pleasing trash bins out on your front lawn or in the back or wherever you're putting them. And cars, like 6 families of cars, that's 12 cars. Let's face it, we're not having one car per family. So where are you putting all these cars? So these are the things that are angering the people that actually live in these neighborhoods.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Shawn and Matt Show. My name is Matt, that is Shawn, and welcome to our show. Shawn, in today's episode, we're going to be talking about a property in Northern Virginia that got over 140 showings over the weekend. And then
welcome to 2024.
Welcome to 2024. I mean, each year we keep saying it over and over again. Now it's, January 17th, and things are happening.
Yes, they are.
We're also going to be talking about Arlington County and missing middle. There's an update with the lawsuit that is currently going on. There's 10 homeowners suing the county of Arlington in regards to missing middle, EHO, expanded housing options. So provide an update on that. Shawn, let's start with our good friend, Eli Tucker, friend of the show.
Yes.
Eli Tucker had a listing come on in Falls Church. I'm going to read off the screenshot that I took on his Instagram story. 142 showings, 120 groups through 3 open houses, 25 offers, almost 13% over asking price. First of all, how do you go through 25 offers? I mean, that's horrible. A whole deal in itself.
That's horrible.
Shawn, first of all, this is in Falls Church, to give you the stats on the property, we have a 3-bed, 2 full bath, end unit, 3-level townhouse inside the Beltway in the Falls Church area, priced at $525. This is kind of the exact equation for, this crazy bidding war. So were you one of the 142 showings? And what do you think about a property like this getting 142 showings?
I mean, this is insane. And this is probably what I didn't think was going to be that high, but the amount of showings you're getting, I was mentioning it last week that we put a property on during Christmas week. And I was like, oh, this isn't going to get many showings. And I had like 40 some showings during Christmas, which was insane. So I was like, all right, well, something's going on here. Now to see this, it seems like a pretty good price point for the area. Now, I don't know exactly where Providence Court is or New Providence Court is, but $525 inside the Beltway, that's a pretty good price point. That is a price point that's difficult to find and where it's in everybody's wheelhouse. Everybody's trying to afford something inside the Beltway.
Okay, so you're right at like 29 and 495. Just inside the Beltway.
29 and 495. Okay. Yep. So at the very edges of Falls Church into, okay. Now I'm getting it. Got you. So this is more.
I mean, this isn't Falls Church City.
This is towards Annandale area, right?
Sure. I mean, you're between like West Falls Church on the east, and then you got Mosaic.
Merrifield. Yep.
On the west, bordered by 495.
Yeah. Great location. You access to 495. Access to Merrifield, 525 inside the Beltway. That's really difficult to find. I don't know where that should have been priced. Do you?
I looked at the comps. I felt like it was priced where it should have been. This isn't when you see 25 offers, when you see 142 showings, you're thinking, why would they price it that low? But I'm looking at the comps. All of them have the arrow going up in the MLS, meaning that all of them have, gone over asking. And I'm seeing a recent one that sold for $525. I click on it, recent as in 2022, and it was priced at $469 in 2022. That got bumped up to $525, and now they're all selling for $525. And so, Eli Tucker, great agent, he's going to list it where the comps are at a competitive price. Yeah. Now, maybe he could have gone like $529 or $534, but at that point, yeah, I think $525 was a great price. And the market responded, and it just goes to show you what happens when you price accordingly. And, it's also move-in ready, right? It's 3 levels. It's 2 full bathrooms. So there's not a lot of deal breakers here. I will say one of the deal breakers has to do with the bathroom. So there's no bathroom on the main level, and then there's only 1 bathroom upstairs. So if you have a family, but at the same time, I mean, it's $525. It's a 3-bedroom. There's going to be some things that aren't perfect. You throw in a half bath on the main level, it's $625. You throw in another bathroom upstairs, you're in the sixes. By the way, 13% over asking on $525 is $590 ish.
Wow.
$590 range.
Really? Holy
it is.
Moly. That's amazing. Well, it just goes to show that if you prepare a property, this is an end unit. So the end units typically go for a little bit more than interior unit, maybe $10,000, $15,000 more. It's built in 1984. So 1984, one thing you have to prepare yourself for is, does it have polybutylene pipes? This is an era where that was used prevalently.
But does that neighborhood have poly pipes?
I don't know. Well, that's the thing is like,
that's usually more in like Kingstown
area definitely has it. I don't know if this neighborhood would have, it's something to look for. So, it could have been that some of these other ones had polybutylene. This one had it totally revamped. That's a $5,000 in this property, $6,000 fix. It probably doesn't have polybutylene, but this price point is really difficult. This is where the majority of people are. It's affordable. It's inside the Beltway. It's a great location, great commuting. So you're going to have a ton of showings, but 140 showings is unprecedented. I've never personally had 140 showings on a listing. So, you know what I mean? Like, that's crazy.
I calculated it. If you were to be on the market from like Thursday to Sunday, do 10 a.m. to like 6 p.m. showings, you're averaging, and it's like 30 minutes per showing, you're averaging 2 people in the house at all times every single day.
That's amazing.
And then 120 groups to the open house, 471 saves on Zillow. I mean, we could continue, but Shawn, with 25 offers, how do you begin to sort through those offers for your seller clients? And what are you telling the agents who maybe are not in the running, or those who are in the running, and how often are you going back with negotiations?
I'll tell you what, this thing could drag on for a long time trying to figure out what's what and who's who. And that's where the back and forth can take so long. It's a toll on your mind as well. The highest I think contracts I've ever had was 14, which was a lot. 25 is ridiculous. Now, the first thing you're going to look at is naturally any contracts with contingencies, they're pretty much gone to the wayside. You got to focus now on, the first thing I'll look at is price, right? The first thing I'm looking at, who has the highest price? Let's find the highest one. And then does that have contingencies? Okay. Yeah, it has contingencies. Well, what's the next highest price? And does it have contingencies? And then from there on, you can kind of eliminate the majority of them, because from what I've seen, a lot of them will lie in a certain frame, right? So most of them went up to probably 550, right? That's where most of them went. And then you'll have a few outliers that go to 575 and then 594, and one probably escalated to 601, right? And that 601 got pushed up to 590 something by another one, and that's your winner. So it's escalation addendums you're looking at. You're looking at waiving appraisals and finance and home inspections. The other thing is, did these people if there were so many showings, usually and typically, I tell my clients, hey, let's try to get in there and do a home inspection, a pre-inspection, so that we can waive that home inspection contingency. But there's no time.
You're going to do a pre-inspection. When the agent tells you there's 20 offers, you're going to do a pre-inspection.
Yeah, you're not going to have that ability. And that's one thing that you have to think about as a homeowner is sometimes you're not able to do a home inspection. And if you feel that 20 other or 15 other people are waiving their home inspection, well, maybe it's okay that I do too. I mean, you've got to think there's probably $5,000, $10,000 of things that you might want to or have to do to the property. But is that a risk you're willing to take, knowing that this thing is escalating way above and there's 25 other people? So if you bought it today, you could sell it tomorrow, right? And not be hurt. So,
well, with waiving the home inspection, again, it comes down to what type of property are you waiving it on? And it's a townhouse from the 1980s. So Shawn had mentioned possibly poly pipes, but when you compare it to like a house from the 1800s or like a new construction condo, we need to factor in how risky of a waiver that is when it comes to waiving the inspection. Shawn, let's flip it. What if your buyer was interested in this and your buyer wanted to write an offer? You call the agent, Eli Tucker says, "What's up, Shawn? We got 24 other offers. Give us your best and final by Monday at 6 p.m. What do you tell your buyer? How do you instruct your buyer on something like that?
You can't have any contingencies. You have to put the highest deposit you possibly can. We have to get,
Well, what if they say the highest possible is 20 over asking?
you're not going to get it. I'll write it for you, but you're not going to get it. You know,
Are
it's
you
the
that
truth.
blunt with your client?
Yeah. Typically, I'll say, listen, you won't get it. I'll say your chances of getting it are very slim. With 24 offers, 20 grand is nothing in this. And when somebody wants it, they're going to pay 600 for it.
So Shawn, I'm your client. I want this one. Shawn, we saw New Providence. I want to write a winning offer. I know the agent told you that there's 24 offers. What do you advise me?
First, I'm going to call the agent. I'm going to find out what the seller needs. The seller needs a quick closing because they're settling on another property. Cool. We'll close as quickly as possible. That's why it's important to have your lenders that can close quickly. You want to be just like cash, right? So you're competing against cash probably. So how do you beat out a cash offer? You have to be just like cash. You cannot have an appraisal contingency. So you have to take on the risk that it's going to appraise for the price that you're going to go and end up at. So if you're doing an escalation up to $601,000, you better make sure that you either have the cash to make up the difference, you're putting enough down to make the bank feel comfortable that they can give you an appraisal waiver, or you just got to risk it, right? You're trying to get it based on what that cash, you have to think that you're competing against cash. And so you cannot have an appraisal. You cannot have a finance contingency. That's why it's so important to get your applications in with the lender and not only just get a pre-approval, but get a full approval. All that lender has to do is approve the home. And in this case, they're not going to have any problems with the home unless there's like a roof falling in, but this is a good property. Just so you know, when you do waive those two things, that lender still has to do an appraisal. And sometimes they can do just a desktop appraisal where they don't have to go to the property. Sometimes they can get an appraisal waiver. We've gone into appraisal waivers before. It really depends on how much you're putting down, what your credit is, and how the property aligns with pricing. So you have to have those two gone. Home inspection, no way. You can't do it. You got to settle probably within 2 weeks, 10 days, quickly. There's only certain lenders, local lenders that can do it. If your lender has a branch office, you're probably not using them. You need a mortgage lender that is streamlined and local, that knows what they're doing in this market. Any people outside of this market will not understand that type of market. They've gotten schooled over the last 2 years because we've seen heightened markets all throughout the US, but definitely use a local lender.
When it comes to price, how are you advising? A 525, there's 24 other offers. When your client asks what price is going to win this property, what do you tell them?
I mean, it's a guess just like anybody else, but if you think there's 25, how high are you willing to go, Matt? What are you willing to
I'm willing to
pay
win
for
this property.
You're willing to win this property. You're going to have to go over 600,000. That's it. If you have 25 offers, you have to cushion yourself and go as high as you can. And the funny thing is, I've had clients last year that went, I think, a couple $100,000 over asking. We ended up winning it. They wanted the house. I was like, listen, go as high as you can. If you don't care anymore, go for it. They want it, and they had a lot of room to spare, but it's all a cash standpoint. If you can afford it and you want it and you know this is it, then go for it and put the top end, and who cares where it goes then. If you're willing to pay that for the property, go for it. But if there's constraints, then you have to keep within those constraints and don't push yourself beyond a certain boundary.
Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below if you would ever write on a property that had 24 offers. Wow.
Man.
Do you think the winner of that, do you think they're happy?
Oh, yeah. They're ecstatic.
Or do you think they're like, wait a second, what have we done?
I've had both, but they just beat out 24 other people. They're pretty happy because, yeah, they overpaid for the property, but did they? Did they overpay for it? Because the market predicts what the, market says what the price is. And the market just said that the price is $590,000.
Well, hopefully they'll stay in their 1,300 square foot plus a basement townhouse.
Guaranteed 2 years for
a couple more years to
we're having a kid.
Make it worth it.
Yeah. But, this goes to show you that you have to keep up on the markets. What happens is everybody is focused on the holidays in December, and that is your best time to get in, because as soon as the new year hit, we were getting calls. Our clients were calling us, hey, can you come see our place? Hey, I'm thinking about buying this year. Multiple calls, and every agent in this area is getting those calls. And so everybody is gung-ho and saying, 24 is my year. I'm going to do it. Get your application in. When you listen to lenders applications were up 10, 15, 20% over the last couple of weeks because people are getting ready for the 2024 market. The 2024 market is here. As we predicted, there's going to be low inventory. the interest rates have gotten better. That's going to push more buyers in, and it's going to push your prices up. So be ready to compete and compete hard. And you see 24 offers in that $500,000, $600,000 range. It's going to be like that throughout the DMV.
Next topic. This comes to us from ARL now. Arlington County loses pre-trial appeal in missing middle suit. Shawn, Arlington County suffered another defeat last week in the pre-trial proceedings for the missing middle lawsuit. It appealed an earlier court decision that the 10 residents suing Arlington County, alleging the county board illegally approved the missing middle zoning amendments, have standings to do so. So last Thursday, the judge denied the motion, meaning that the court proceedings will continue forward with a trial this July, according to a press release from Arlington Neighbors for Neighborhoods, the LLC funding the litigation efforts on behalf of its 10 residents. 2 land use attorneys recently broke down the details of the lawsuit in a panel hosted by the Arlington Committee of 100 last week, which we touched on very briefly in our latest episode with Arlington Magazine's Greg Hamilton. The 2 land use attorneys walked through the county's alleged procedural missteps as asserted by lawyers for the plaintiffs. So, Shawn, essentially what this lawsuit is revolving around is that Arlington County took the wrong procedural requirements, or better said, Arlington County allegedly did not properly do the right procedural items that were necessary to approve the missing middle plan. And so because Arlington County allegedly did not do what they were allegedly supposed to do to pass missing middle, these 10 homeowners are saying, wait a second, this was approved illegally. This should have never been approved. This is going to hurt our property values, our lifestyle, yada, yada, yada. This needs to be rescinded. So clearly this is not going anywhere anytime soon. This lawsuit is not, being thrown out. It's not a frivolous lawsuit. It's proceeding slow and steady. So, Shawn, what are your thoughts on this lawsuit continuing for the missing middle in Arlington County?
Yeah, I mean, this is such a big, huge, controversial topic in the area. And, for something this big to be passed without the proper procedural steps is a mistake. If you want to pass a law, then you have to follow the procedures. And pushing it through because somebody elected to board, that was their mission, and they were retiring from the board and they want to get it through, is not the right way to do it. I don't know if that happened. That's just what I was reading, some of the things. I don't know what procedural steps were missed. I honestly don't. Do you know any of those, Matt?
So let's see. Reading from the article, the reason. Let me see if I can find it. Okay. But keep going.
I mean, listen. It's an epic situation because you're basically transforming neighborhoods that were set in stone in Arlington years and years ago. And okay, everybody wants change and people want to live in Arlington. But, the one argument that I keep hearing over and over again is, people can't afford to be in this neighborhood, but they really want to be in this neighborhood. They should be allowed to live in this neighborhood.
I found it.
Okay, go ahead.
I was going to cut you off.
Yeah,
there.
Please do.
Okay. All right. So for major zoning map amendments, such as those allowing lower density multifamily housing in previously single family only zoning, Lunger, who is an attorney, says Virginia code requires a public discourse on how the changes would impact transportation and infrastructure and how those costs would be borne by residents. Those things weren't discussed at that level in Arlington, says attorney Tad Lunger. So the procedural steps that are allegedly missed, those have been outlined. Now, one thing of note, I don't think I was aware of this. The Virginia Supreme Court struck down Fairfax County's zoning ordinance early last year. But within a couple of months, the Board of Supervisors adopted the same ordinance after fixing the procedural issues. The changes were approved in a virtual meeting in 2021. And at that time, when virtual meetings were only to discuss essential government functions. So as to say, if there are alleged procedural missteps, then possibly Arlington can, retroactively fix those procedural missteps or make a change to make this whole and make this right.
Yeah, and that's what they should have done at the beginning. There are problems that will arise that people need to address, or the county needs to address, to make sure that, number one, transportation. Is this going to be a strain on the roads? Is parking going to be an issue on the roads? Some of these roads can't handle any more cars. The thing is, we have single family zoning. My street has cars parked on it all the time. Not a ton, not lining up and down. But if it was lining up and down, it's unsafe to walk on the street. We have no sidewalks on our street. So where do we walk when we're going to school or whatever? These things are things that people think about all the time when they're not thinking about when they live in these neighborhoods. When people don't live in these neighborhoods, they don't think about the little things that can occur or that actually affect the people living there. Number two is the stormwater systems. Number three is the plumbing. You now are taking one house and turning it into 3 or 6, and that plumbing is going to be a strain on the current infrastructure that's adding 6 when there was 1. So is it adequate? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, but that has to be answered in a proper way. And any other concerns that people have. What about schools? Schooling, you're now adding 6 families to 1. If this happens a lot, it's going to put a strain on your schools. The schools
6 families to 1? 6 families going to live in a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom apartment?
No. So so Enhanced bought that property over in Waycroft. I know the property because a friend of mine was selling it, and I know Enhanced. And so they built my house. But from what I understand, and I didn't know this at the time, it was a double lot, and they bought it for $1.6 million, $800,000 per lot, basically. Let's put it there. But what I didn't know was they have now almost, I don't know if it's approved yet or not, but it's not. It's in the process. Instead of building 2 single-family homes, they're now building 6. I have to look at this, but 6 homes at least. I don't know if it's 3 and 3 or 6 and 6 So
6, are we talking a duplex?
Townhouses. So I think it's 3 townhouses and 3 townhouses.
So 3 and 3.
So
a total of 6?
I believe it's a total of 6.
Because if it's 2 you said 2 lots?
2 lots.
Then it would be 3 and 3.
3 and 3.
So total of 6.
Total of 6. So It went from 1 single family home to possibly 2 single family homes.
Tracking.
And now to 6 townhouses. So that is a huge change from what was there and what could have been proposed prior to EHO.
There's going to be a lot of cars on that block.
There's a ton of cars. And if you ever go to Waycroft is an awesome neighborhood. Right down the street is the park. I mean, it's really walkable. It's a beautiful neighborhood. But the thing is, people bought in this neighborhood for a reason. And people continue to buy in the neighborhoods for reasons because it's aesthetically pleasing. I know people are going to say, well, you can build aesthetically pleasing 6plexes. Well, you can, but you can't build aesthetically pleasing trash bins out on your front lawn or in the back or wherever you're putting them. And cars, like 6 families of cars, that's 12 cars. Let's face it, we're not having 1 car per family. So where are you putting all these cars? So these are the things that are angering the people that actually live in these neighborhoods. Now, it's easy for everybody that don't live there, that live in an apartment, that rent, that live in townhouses to say, I'm for EHO. That's because you don't own a single family home and you haven't worked your butt off to get there. And one thing that I was watching these proceedings, and Michelle Winters was one of the people that was for the EHO. And so I listened to her argument, but the one thing that she didn't tell you is that she actually is an investor in EHO. So naturally she's going to be for it. She lives in the neighborhood, which is fine. All right, she lives in it, but she's also making a living and making money off of EHO, which she should have disclosed in those arguments, which she was saying. But from what I listened to, the lawyers and John Ware, who's also a neighbor of mine, gave compelling arguments of why this should be done. And then John gave documentation on what the actual increase in the lot premiums were. Because builders are now paying more for lots because they can now build more properties on there and their income goes up, right? So there was an example of 1313 Harrison Street, which was bought by, I can never remember the name. Bought by
Beacon Crest.
Beacon Crest bought it. The lot right across, and that's a street over from me. The lot across from me sold for $8.25 a year prior. That lot on Harrison, which is more of a busier street, sold for $950,000 a year later, not even a year later. So Beacon Crest thought they were going to build a duplex on that. And then what happened was, in that neighborhood, there is actually a covenant that says only one single family per lot can be built on there. Something that maybe they overlooked. We brought that up to them and they pulled that back out. And so now they're building a single family home that is now listed for $2.35 million. It's not built yet. It's a spec home. All right. So that shows you right there that they bought. So that was John's, some of John's argument. And he and I are friends, and I talked to him before. But Michelle, I don't really know Michelle. But her arguments were more on the heartstrings of things. It wasn't about, families want to live in here. It was, what if my daughter comes driving through here and she says, why can't I live in this neighborhood, mommy? Well, whose kids actually say that? No one's. I mean, that's just a pull on the heartstrings. Give us some factual stuff. And that's how you should make a decision, not on the emotions of one person that's saying something because they want something to happen. That's just my true feeling. I'm not trying to be a jerk here. I'm just saying, like, we need to make decisions that are impacting people and find out how they're going to impact people that have bought in these neighborhoods. And, just because you don't live in these neighborhoods doesn't mean that you have the right to choose how our neighborhoods are changed. I don't think, personally, right? Because what happens is, when you purchase a property, you have, like, for me, example, right? I couldn't afford Arlington when I first purchased a property. I worked and I worked and I worked and kept buying and selling and buying and selling. And finally, I afforded the house that I wanted and that I could afford in the spot that I wanted to. And it took me 20 years to do so. And for you to then say, well, now I can build a triplex or whatever across the street from me, it kind of hurts my bottom line, because I just worked my butt off to get to this neighborhood. And now you're just going to say, okay, I'm going to build a $1.3 million townhouse that's next to each other. Well, that changes the whole schematics of the neighborhood that I just bought in. So that's what you have to think of on a against EHO. All right. For EHO, I understand that we need more housing in Arlington. One of the things was, it was argued that at the very beginning, everything was about the money. Oh, we need more affordable housing for this, for that. Then all of a sudden it flipped. Okay, no, we didn't mean we needed affordable housing for this. We mean we need the right size housing. We only have small condos and big, massive single family homes. We need, a 3-bedroom or a 2-bedroom, 2-bath townhouse. Well, that's the argument now. But the problem is, they're still $1.3 million, 1.1. They're not affordable. And so the whole push for the affordability was wrong, right? So anyways, it's a touchy situation, and you have to be careful, because naturally I have clients that are probably for missing middle, and then I have clients that are against missing middle. And I could talk all day on people that have called me. Like, can I go into this? Like,
I'm going to let you keep driving.
So the other day, I had a guy call me and he said, Shawn, I'm scared. This house across the street from me, I think it's going to go for sale. It's going in, it's being dilapidated. Like, it's just needs help. I know the owner and I think he's going to sell it. He's like, my fear is that they're going to sell to EHO. Like, I do not want 3 townhouses across. I don't care about the McMansion anymore. Like, he used to be against the McMansions, but now it's like, when you're given the choice, do you want the McMansion or do you want 3 townhouses? What would you rather have? Personally, I'd rather have the McMansion. I'm sorry. That's just how I feel, because it's better for property values. And when I'm an investor in that neighborhood, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for good aesthetics. I'm looking for property values to go up or sustain their property values, not go down. And I'm not saying that 3 townhouses would hurt your value. I think they could, if you're looking at it, if it's next to you or if it's behind you. It definitely would affect your value, because it's what you're looking at for that particular lot.
Can I jump in?
Sure.
So, and I'm not interested in debating. I'm not interested in talking about if this is like a good thing or bad. I think missing middle is probably good in some areas and probably not good in other areas.
Agreed.
But you rang an alarm in my head. I shouldn't say alarm, but you rang a bell in my head. You said that you're interested in property values. So you would rather have the McMansion across the street rather than the triplex because of property values. Now, earlier you brought up Waverly Hills or Waycroft or one of these areas. You might have said Waycroft. I'm going to move over to Waverly Hills.
Yeah.
Recently, Arlington County has been buying up single family houses in I don't know, not flood zones, but they've been buying up houses, and buying up, I mean like 4 or 5 houses. They've been buying houses in Arlington County, those that are eligible, with the thought of better stormwater retention. And so what'll happen is, I believe, they raise the house, they tear the house down. Possibly there's some underground stormwater retention situation. I don't think, there's a stormwater facility that'll pop up right next to you. But I'm just genuinely curious. What are your thoughts on if you lived across the street from a house that maybe got flooded and now it's like an open parkland? There's nothing there. How do you think that would affect property values?
It just depends on what they do to it. If it's an open parkland, then
there's nothing above grade, or there's a few little things here and there that aren't really that.
Yeah, unsightly. I think it's good for your property value. You're not staring into something ugly, or not necessarily ugly. I'm not saying each EHO is ugly.
Just open.
Open. Anything open is going to increase your property value, in my opinion.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. So that's the way I see it. Here's the other thing is the actual property, the EHO that is purchased, that has just gone up in value, right? So before, right, the lot was $850, let's call it. Now that one across from me sold for $950. Okay, well, that $950, if they could have built multiple properties on that, and let's just take the one in Waycroft for an example, right? They bought it for $1.6 million. It was a double lot. That's $800,000 per lot. Okay. Now they're turning it into, let's just say 6 places. Those 6 places will sell for probably $1.3 million a piece. So now what did you just do? You took you took 2 lots, which would have been, say, $2.2 million houses, $4.4 million total value. And you turned it into 6 townhouses that'll be priced at 1.1 or above. So let's call that 6.6. You're at now $7 million. You have just turned a $4.4 million opportunity into a $7 million opportunity. And what does that do? It increases the tax base for Arlington County, and it increases the money made for the builder. That's it. I'm not faulting the builder. I think the builder is doing the right thing by, hey, if we're allowed to do this, I'm going to maximize what I can do here. And why am I in business? I'm in business to make $1. And that's what they're doing. Unfortunately, it's to the detriment of the people living right around it, because that one particular plot is now going to be worth, in the Arlington County's eyes, $7.7 million. But the ones around you have just, in my opinion, dropped a little bit because you're looking at something that isn't the same as everything else in your neighborhood. So that's my thought.
So, as we wrap up the missing middle EHO talk, number of EHO permits in 2023. So in the article from ARL Now, let's see, this person
John Ware.
John
He
Ware
lives by me.
John Ware said, the county paid $100,000 for these non-economist consultants who claim that there'd only be 19 to 21 lots per year. Economist. I think I mispronounced that earlier. That word always trips me up. I promise I have a college degree. So instead of 19 to 21 per year, we saw 50 applications in the first 6 months of the program, 26 which have been approved. By the way, Shawn, the 26 that have been approved, all of them have either been in the R5 or the R6 zoning. Let's see, R5 zone, 21 issued for R6, which means 6,000 square feet. 5 issued for R5, which means the lot is 5,000 square feet, and no EHO permits were issued for lots 8, 10, or R20. Think, really suburban, really north, really south Arlington. So, Shawn, my question to you is, as we enter 2024, do you think there was simply pent up demand that led to 50 applications just out the gate? Because a handful of them, got denied. The lot wasn't eligible. They were asking for variances that weren't allowed. And do you think we're going to see closer to that 20 to 21 lots per year? Because keep in mind, there's a cap on 58 EHO permits per year. So what are you seeing? What are you thinking for 2024 EHO opportunities?
Well, I mean, I think the reason there was 50 applications is because the money is there. The money is there for builders to make. And why wouldn't they apply to put a single family home on that same plot of land? It's because they can make more money by building more properties on that one single piece of land. That's the reality of it.
Well,
right?
it's not there for R8, for R10, for R20.
R8, R10, R20.
The opportunity wasn't there. No one got their permit approved.
Well, one of the R8s, which was my neighborhood, it was because it had an underlying covenant in there, right? So I don't know. I don't know about R8s or why one would be better for the other. But if you think about it, R8, you can build more properties, but R8s are probably a little further away from metro, right?
So the money's not there for the ones that are further away from metro.
The money's probably not there. It doesn't make as much sense further away from metro. As you get closer in, naturally, it becomes easier.
Do you think they're going to cap out at 58 permits, or do you think let's set an over under 58? Are you over or under the number of approved permits in 2024?
Well, it depends on how this lawsuit goes, because I was reading something in there that said, like, would builders have to tear it down if this got, like, that's kind of dude, if you're approved, you're approved at this point. It's legal to do so. You can't go back and say, oh, sorry, builder, you were approved for this, but now you're not. Like, hey, the law is passed right now. And if you're approving them, you can't go back, right? That's my opinion. You cannot have now a negative effect on these builders that are putting their neck out on the line to make money and whatever, right?
The lawsuit could take years.
It could take years.
People are going to be
right?
moving in. What are you going to kick these people out?
Right, exactly.
I don't know how it'll work.
You can't. Hey, it's legal. It's legal right now. It doesn't matter what the lawsuit is doing. I mean, you passed it. But
so 58. Are you over or under that number?
Well, I mean, if it's capped, I'm right at 58.
You're right. Okay.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, like, come November, December of next year, are we going to start hearing about, there were actually 75 applicants. There were actually like hundreds of people that couldn't get their permit approved.
Yeah. I think that the actual permits that they're going to be higher than the 58 for sure.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
I'm going lower.
Okay.
I'm going lower. I don't see R8, R10, R20. Maybe there'll be a handful of those R8 that are quasi, walking distance to the Lee Harrison Center or something like that. I don't think there's going to be. I mean, land is hard to come by.
You're right about that.
It's hard to build 3 townhouses. I mean, sure. All right. Well, how much more do you need to make as a builder for it to be worth it to take on the additional risk of 3 separate roofs, 3 separate HVAC, 3 separate of everything?
But think about it. All right. So you have just divided one house into 3. Basically, well, John was saying that one of the things was way bigger than a single family McMansion that was proposed, right? So it was like 30% bigger. And so anyways, but if you think about it, yes, you're putting a lot of plumbing and everything else in, but you would think that one structure it's still one structure. It's divided into 3. It's cheaper than, I mean, I don't know the cost. I don't know the cost of building these things, but I would think that building that one structure of 3 different units is going to be a little bit more than building a single family home, but the money you're bringing in and the net income that you're producing is way higher.
Well, I'm hammering the under. I'm hammering the under on this.
You might be right on the under because of the availability of lots. There just isn't a lot to purchase out there.
You're gonna have to pry these lots from the baby boomers' cold dead hands. Like,
well, you know what?
Just not available.
Got one coming up here.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
What's gonna happen there? So Shawn, you got a 2-bedroom listing in Westover
area. Yeah.
2-bedroom single family house. Weird lot. Can I say
it's
weird
an
lot?
R5. It's an R5 lot. Yeah. It's
unique
a smaller lot.
We're promoting it, so I shouldn't say weird. I should say
no. It's a nice lot. It's an opportunity. It's a over 5,000 square foot lot.
What's someone going to do with it?
I think it's a teardown.
But what are they going to build?
Beacon Crest actually just built one on a similar lot right on Longfellow, I believe, and that thing is going for 2.2 million.
Are you going to reach out to him off market?
Yeah.
Say, hey, what's up, Derek?
Yeah, I've talked to a few people already. They already had their coffers full. So like, but it could be an opportunity. I don't know how feasible EHO is, and I don't know the provisions and what needs to be happening on those. But
how's that going to work? You selling an EHO in your own neighborhood. If you find out that you can get a higher list price by advertising it as EHO,
I'm representing my clients, man. It doesn't matter how I feel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I have to represent a client, and that client wants something. He wants the highest dollar, then the highest dollar is going to win. Like that's just what you can't fault me, them, or the builder. This is what the Arlington County is doing. I don't necessarily want it next to me, but like, what do you do? You're representing a client that wants maximum dollar. Now I've definitely heard of some people putting in provisions into their contract that says, well, we're going to put something in the deed that says that you can't build XYZ on these lots. I've seen it happen. And one of my clients tried to buy it and was just too put off by the provision. So
those are so silly.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to in or out, Shawn, whether you are in or out on this property in Alexandria. This is just south of Alexandria. Let me introduce you to 2405 Nordic Place. Nordic spelled Nordok Place. 5 beds, 4 bathrooms, listed for $1.845 million, 3,500 square feet. A must-see, unparalleled showpiece property in one of the most beautifully designed and well-preserved modernist communities in the United States. This stunning mid-century modern home, originally designed by renowned architect Charles Goodman, has been re-envisioned and expanded in collaboration with award-winning Randall Mars Architects and local design builder MM Design Co. in 2023. Although the original architecture integrity of the Charles Goodman home remains, nearly every inch of the property has been fully remodeled and expanded. Now totaling 3,509 square feet, the home has 5 bedrooms, 4 full bathrooms, including an 814 square foot private primary suite on its own level and a separate guest suite ADU with a full bathroom. Shawn, for $1.845 million in Alexandria, are you in or out?
Matt, I used to obsess over this neighborhood because it has these Goodwin houses, these mid-century modern styles. They're all throughout this area, all throughout the neighborhood. I can't think of what's the neighborhood?
Hollin Hills.
Hollin Hills. Cool neighborhood. I obsessed. I ended up buying in Lake Barcroft that also has some mid-century modern homes. I love the style of this. I think it's architecturally cool. Definitely down. I love the glass. I mean, what's not to like about this?
I think you're going to say what's not to like.
The thing I'm a little bit fearful of is the $1.8 million price point in 22306.
What does that say? Yeah, 22306.
22306 zip code. I don't know that a property of this size warrants a $1.8 million price point. So I love it, but I'm not going to buy this one.
Is this the nicest house on the block in the neighborhood?
It's one of the nicest. Now, there are some beautiful houses in here, and there are some old ones that need work, but there are some beautiful redone houses that are huge, that are really nice, mid-century modern. There are so many different floor plans in that neighborhood. I just used to ride up and down and dream, and there are some really, really cool plots. This thing is amazing. I don't want to poo-poo it because it is awesome, but I think 1.8 in my eyes, I think it's a little too high for this. So I'd buy it at a lower price point. I definitely would, but I don't think right now 1.8 is me.
So you're out.
I'm out.
So Shawn, I've gone on the record saying that I am a hater. I'm an MCM hater, a mid-century modern hater. Shawn, I love everything about this house.
So cool.
I love the black exterior. It's not, I guess it is all black, right? But you have like
gray,
some trim there that's
well
not
done.
black. And then you walk in, it's open, it's airy, it's light. You have the ADU, you have the Tesla parked in the driveway.
It screams.
I love everything about it, but I I need to roll through Hollin Hills. I haven't been recently. I pulled up old G maps. You're across the street from a school.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have school buses driving by for 9 months out of the year.
Yep.
You're a little close to Route 1. If I need to get to Home Depot, I don't want to be able to walk to Home Depot.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there's a cul-de-sac or two going on here. But, $1.8 million in Northern Virginia can get you a pretty nice house in many different neighborhoods.
Mm-hmm.
And if I have $1.845 million to spend on a house, it's just not going to be in Hollin Hills. It's not going to be in Hybla Valley. It's going to be somewhere else.
Agreed.
Okay. I don't like the traffic on Route 1. I get a little excited for more of the Fort Hunt, more of the
Sure.
GW Parkway side. But, I declined a couple of years ago. They were deciding between that and Burke, kind of similar, if you will, similar price points, kind of around like the 900 mark. So, you can get a pretty decent house at that price. And I mean, he kind of sold me on the Burke area and said, hey, look how much more is accessible from Burke as a launching off point compared to, Hybla Valley, Fort Hunt, Hollin Hills, where you always have to traverse, one, 2, or 3 roads, to get you everywhere. So, again, love the house. I wish I was in on it, but unfortunately, I'm out as well.
Yeah, agreed. I think 1.8 is just too high. I've lived down there. It's cool. Down on the GW Parkway, along the river, closer in, beautiful area. Hollin Hills, very cool spot, but I just feel like 1.8 is steep for that close to Route 1. So
Shawn, I'm getting married this year in 2024. My better half, loves houses, loves architecture. I don't know what she thinks about MCMs, about mid-century moderns, but if she finds out about this neighborhood, and if she likes mid-century moderns,
moving Matt out of Arlington would be like, what?
How hilarious would that be if I wound up in Hollin Hills?
Hollin Hills, I'll tell you, it has an allure to it. I obsessed over it. It has a lot of trees, but the coolness factor of some of these places, and I went through a lot of them. Being a real estate agent, you have that, ability to just go see houses when you want to. I'd take my wife, and we dreamed hard about living here. It's just cool. There's big lots. It's treed in. There's some really strange things, like that one that kind of looks like a trailer. You know what I mean? Like it's that kind of mid-century modern, but some of them are just 2-level, 3-level glass fronts. Very cool. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I this was like the nicest, gentlest, rejection I think I've had.
Yeah, I think it's a gentle rejection
because I don't want to poo-poo it. It's just too much in not the right location for me.
Yeah, Matt, have you ever? I mean, aside from college, have you ever lived outside of Arlington?
Aside from college, no. I lived in Arlington until I was 21. Well, that was still college.
Yeah.
Then I moved back, and then I was in Lyon Park, Clarendon, Ballston, Clarendon, Roslyn.
Yeah,
here we are.
All of them. Yeah. It'll be a crazy day if Matt Leighton ever leaves Arlington, Virginia. I will. I'll probably not let him. Let
us know in the comments down below if I'm ever going to leave Arlington, Virginia, and if you're in or out on Nordic Place. Nordic spelled Nordok. I can't get over that.
Yeah.
Who thought of that? All right. Well, for Shawn and myself, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, we'll see you then.
Take care.